All right, so thank you guys for joining live. And for those that are on the replay, welcome. Okay, so just like because I'm recording now, I'm just going to repeat what I said, that you're going to want a broomstick or dowel or something like that if you have that handy, and then your kettlebells, and then possibly a yoga block or a stack of books might be needed as well. And then a wall, if you do have, we're going to do a couple of little drills where you might want to be near a wall. All right, so basically the kettlebell swing. So we're going to basically, how we're going to break this down is warm up and talk about some of the mobility and stability type things that we need for a swing. And then we're going to break it down into pieces where we go through the hip hinge, so just learning how to move properly, and then the deadlift, and then a kettlebell drag, and then a kettlebell dead stop swing, and then the full swing. So ideally, what happens is that you work on these skills until you nail the one skill, and then you move on to the next. So in a 1 hour quick workshop, it's not like we're going to just nail everything, but so if you feel like at one of the points that you're stuck on, technically, it's not, you shouldn't progress to the next level until you've really gotten the level before. So just know that when we get to the swing part, if you're still not sure if your hinge is correct, maybe you stay into more of that level. Or the deadlift or something like that. So we're not just like pushing through to get to the swing, because that's the last bus stop, and not everybody should be swinging until we get those other foundations going first. Okay, so first thing is, if you're wearing shoes, I highly recommend taking them off, because learning to swing from the ground up with your feet is super important. And if you're used to working out with shoes, it might feel a little bit different for you, but really everything comes from the feet when we're finding that power to drive through our hips. And with a shoe, that especially if it's not a zero drop or minimal shoe, it's going to have that heel lift and that kind of rocking toe, and you're not going to feel as connected. When I swing with a shoe, I just feel like I'm just going to like fall backwards. So that's just one tip. If you do have shoes on and you feel comfortable, take them off. We're all at home. So okay, so let's do a little bit of a warm up. So what's important with a swing is to have that mobility in the hips to be able to move properly in our hinge. So we need to have the movement in our pelvis and our spine, but we also need stability as well. So strength there in the core and the hips and the glutes and everything. So we're going to start with just a little bit of some movement here. So let's just start with some hip circles. So just take your feet out about maybe shoulder height and just start to circle the hips around. And then we also, it is a very like hip dominant movement, but we do also need movement in the shoulders and the upper body as well. So we can't just forget that. And then go the other direction a few times. Good, last one here. Good. And then let's just take those arms up and around. So really reach through the fingers and alternate the arm that's crossing on the top, and then just reach up and back. Good. And then go the other way. Good. And then let's reach those arms up. So think thumbs back, pinkies forward, and then just come all the way down. Let your knees bend, let your spine sort of round here. And then just think about pulling from the low belly as we just roll through the spine. So now we're just working again on that spinal mobility. Inhale and reach up and then come down. And then we want also to work on that stability, which we will work on after. And then one more time, just reach up, come down, let your spine just relax and round and just roll up. Good. Okay, so let's just play with the pelvis here and a pelvic tilt. So we just put your hands onto your kind of the bony points of your pelvis here. We're just gonna rock it back and forth. So when you rock it forward, your kind of pubic bone sort of draws down, your butt sort of sticks out a little bit. And then we go the other way, think about the pubic bone drawing up and back, and the butt sort of tucks under a little bit. So this is anterior and then posterior tilting of the pelvis. So we need the pelvis to move well. And then again, we also need that stability that's going to come from our core. When we're in, so we want to find that somewhere neutral first. So this is your anterior, so this is kind of butt out. We have this big archy sort of back. And then we have the other way where we have this kind of tucked under tight glute squeeze. We want to find somewhere in the middle. So where it feels like the bony hip points and the pubic bone are in the same plane. So we're not down and we're not up. We're just nice and neutral. So try to find that position if you can. So the glutes should be kind of still relaxed here, and that pulling up, that neutral position comes from this low belly engagement, this the transverse. So just the gentle pulling up there. So that's what we want to finish that's what we want to keep our swing in the whole time. So what happens if you find that neutral, put your hand on one hand on your belly, one hand on your low back here, and then see if you can, from that hip crease, keep that pelvis in neutral, and then hinge back with a slight bend in the knee, and then come back up to standing nice and tall. So we want to inhale back, and then exhale up. So when we're swinging, deadlifting, whatever, we want to keep that position. So the ribs also are connected here in the pelvis, and we don't have like hours to spend on this because this could be a topic that we go on for ever. But I just want you to understand that that is super, super important to have the stability and the movement in the pelvis and this neutral kind of position, because commonly we either go, and this is my default too, where I get too archy in the spine. So losing that stability there and the ribs kind of flare, or there's the other way around where people will go this way and they tuck under. So usually, we all have sort of our defaults. So it's just understanding what is neutral, how to find it in our body, and what our tendencies are. So grab your stick, and let's just play with that for a moment here. So we want 3 points of contact with your stick or whatever you have. So back of the head, between the shoulder blades, and then the sacrum, kind of that flat part of the back of the pelvis there. We want to ideally have those 3 points stay connected. So take your feet about shoulder distance, and then just take an inhale and an exhale. On your exhale, just think about the low belly lifting in and up. So you have this nice, strong, stacked position. And then inhale and hinge back. So reach back, see if you start to lose contact with anything. And then come back up to standing, drive through the feet. Inhale, exhale. So if you are a tucker of your pelvis, then you're probably going to lose contact down below. If you are an excessive like anterior tilter, you might lose contact in the mid back area. And then the other really common one that I see is not keeping that neck in line with the spine. So when most people swing, deadlift, whatever, they keep their head up like this because maybe they're looking in a mirror and it's so hard on our poor little neck. And typically what happens in one area, it kind of trickles its way down as well. So we want everything to stay nice and stacked. So just try that a couple more times. So use that breath too. So inhale and exhale. And then if you are feeling like you keep losing contact, just feel it, hold it down for a moment and just think, where do I need to engage? What do I need to do to get that piece connected? Good. I'm just going to switch my view here for a second so I can watch you guys. Good. And then watch, make sure those legs aren't locking out either. So we're not doing this with stiff-legged. As we hinge, those knees will follow slightly, but they don't go super forward. It's not like a squat. Those knees pretty much stay sort of over the ankles. All right. Good. So place that down and then see if you can find that without the dowel. So I like to, when I'm teaching a class or something, I usually, I'll just say, put your hands on your ribs or belly, or one hand in the front, one hand in the back, so that you can kind of get that feedback without using the stick. And so come down, so hinge. And then I always think as well, right from that hip crease, so right where the pants would kind of wrinkle up here, that's where you're going from. So you're reaching your hips back towards that wall behind you and then coming back up. And are you able to maintain that stacked position? And that's coming from this core stability and hip stability. So do a couple more of those. And then I want to talk about some of the drills that I like to use to kind of help to find that core and hip stability. And again, this is a really quick workshop, so it's like a big topic, but we're just going to cover a couple of basic ones for you guys. So we're going to go through the plank and the glute bridge is the two that I chose. So take a break from your hinging there. So the plank is a great skill that transfers well to the kettlebell swing, because if you think about the top of your swing, where the kettlebell's out here, this is essentially a plank. This is what we should be finishing in every time we swing. So if your swing is like, woo, which I see like a lot of that, that's like, imagine the floor is here. This is essentially, that's your plank. Is that a good plank? I think we all know that it's not. So we need to learn how to stabilize while we're moving, but we can learn that in a stationary isometric position like a plank. So let's do that right now. So come down to the floor. Let's do we'll do hands, the plank. So have your fingers kind of spread nice and wide. Hands are right underneath the shoulders, so we're nice and stacked here. And then push the floor away first so that you're not collapsing in those shoulders. So push away. So think about the back of your ribs kind of pushing up towards the ceiling. And then take your toes, or take your toes out, feet out. Squeeze your butt. And then think about drawing the pubic bone towards the nose. So you feel maybe that low belly lifting in and up. Keep pushing the floor away. Keep squeezing the glutes and squeeze the quads. And see if you can find that whole body engagement. Push the hands into the floor. And then feel free at any time, if you need a break, take a break. But think about, we'll do this a few times. You want that full, strong connection through the whole body. Toes, hands, pubic bone draws up, glutes are squeezed, quads are squeezed. Okay, take a break there and shake it out. So think about that stability when we finish standing in that swing. And that's why, making sure that you have a nice solid plank is key. So if you plank, you know, like this. Sometimes people have their butt up or they plank like this. Again, there's no, you've completely lost that stability in the spine, which is then going to transfer into your swing, and you're going to just be like this kind of floppy fish. Okay, let's try that one more time. So hands on the floor, spread nice and wide, push the floor away, walk those feet out when you're ready. And then find that whole body engagement. Watch where your head, remember that head is in line with the spine the whole time. Squeeze the glutes, squeeze the quads, push through the feet, push through the hands. Think about those back of the ribs and shoulder blades going up towards the ceiling. Pubic bone draws towards the nose. Everything should be shaking and engaged. Good, okay, relax there. Okay, so that is one drill that is super important to get that nice strong plank position that transfers into your kettlebell swing. And then let's flip over onto the back. So another one that is a very important drill is a hip or a glute bridge. So for several reasons, because we need strong glutes in order to have a good, strong swing. And then we need to, again, learn that hip extension. And that is when we're standing up and our hips are pushing forward, when we're in our swing, when we stand up tall, that's that hip extension that's coming from the glutes. So let's set up here with your feet about hip distance apart. They're just underneath the knees roughly, so they're not super far out. Arms are just resting by your sides. Press through the feet, take an inhale here, big inhale. And then as you exhale, press through the feet and lift the hips up. So think about that hip crease again, where those, the pants kind of crinkle up. We're straightening that out. We're losing that crinkle. So come back down from that hip crease. You can even put your hands there, and then exhale and straighten out that hip crease by engaging the glutes. So not this big rib flare. Everything again stays connected here in our bridge. The ribs and the pelvis are this nice, strong connected unit. So just keep going here for a few rounds. So inhale down, exhale up. So think pubic bone again, drawing up towards the nose, ribs staying connected in. We have that low belly between those hip points, engaged, pulling in and up. Drive through the feet. So notice your feet here. Think about that tripod foot, that big toe, pinky toe, and heel connection as you're coming up and down. So do a couple more of these here. So think about, again, I'm going to stand, but you can do a couple more. So that move, that down and up, that is, again, your swing. So when we go down and then we have to drive up forcefully, that's that hip extension coming from those powerful glutes. You can take a break there from those bridges. So that's why I like breaking this down and learning these skills and strengthening those areas is super important. So when we get to the big stuff, you have that understanding of how to move well in each of these areas. Okay, so your bridge, bridge and plank 2, that I'm just going to stick to today for strengthening and stability exercises for that lumbopelvic, that hip stability, core stability. So come back up to standing, and I'm just going to have some water. And then we're going to move on to our deadlift. Okay. So remembering that hinge, do a couple of these. So find your feet first. Plant the feet. Again, if you took those shoes off, spread those toes out. Think about the big toe mound, the pinky toe mound, and the middle of the heel. So nice, strong, active feet. You can take one hand on the back, one hand on the belly. Inhale, hinge back from that hip crease. Exhale, come back up. You can also use that stick if you still feel like you need that feedback. But where is your head? So try not to just look at the screen, because then that might throw your head off. And just feel it intuitively, just feeling, is the head in line? Where's my back? Where are my hips going? Get that proprioception, understanding where your body is in space. You can just use those cues too. Sometimes I like to put my thumbs on my ribs and my fingers on those bony parts of the pelvis again. And then if I was going to go into this big rib flare, you would feel that movement. All right, so think about that plank. So you're in that plank, that nice stability, and then think about that glute bridge that we just did, that glute squeeze. Okay, let's deadlift. Grab your kettlebell. So first of all, and the reason why I said maybe have a yoga block or a stack of books handy is because everybody's kettlebell is going to be a different height. So if you have small standard kettlebells, they're pretty low to the floor. And if you struggle with a little bit of mobility and range in your hips, then getting to the floor might look like this, like getting to the kettlebell handle, because it's too low. So propping it up onto a block might be something that is going to work better for your body. So it depends on you and whether you can actually get down into this position with your kettlebell on the floor. So try it. And I know that, again, it's if you don't have a mirror or somebody watching you, sometimes we think, I'm totally in neutral, and we're not. So first of all, you want to be over top of your kettlebell. So whether you're on a block or not, your kettlebell is right between the arches of the feet, pretty much. So you're right over top of it. It's not in front of you. And hinge back in those hips. So reach back, and then hands on the handle. So don't pick it up yet. I just want you to feel. So this in itself, you need a lot of strength just to hold this position. So this is where the lats and the shoulders come in. So I always think about, like, I'm squeezing my armpits in towards each other, and my chest stays open and lifted. So one problem, again, I see a lot is this kind of closed off chest and rounded back. So pull those shoulders down and back, squeeze, lift in through that low belly, press through the feet. So we've got that nice, strong, neutral position. And then from there, we exhale, drive through the feet, come up to standing. And again, just standing straight, there's not this over push. And then we return back down to the floor between the arches, not in front of the toes. Reset. So inhale, nice and strong. Squeeze those armpits in and shoulders back. And then stand up tall. Find that tension through the feet, the quads, the glutes. So push into the floor. Use the floor to push into to find that strength. So just keep playing here. Inhale, exhale. When you're exhaling, keep going here. When you're exhaling, think like it's all about that pubic bone connection, zipping. It's just a really good cue that kind of gets you feeling that low belly lift. So as we exhale and come up, it's like we're doing this nice zipping in that core. And if you feel like maybe your spine is not in a great spot, maybe you want to try that elevating of your kettlebell. So it's up onto that yoga block. So each time you come down, again, think squeeze those armpits, collarbones wide, belly, a low belly lifts, hips are dropped down, knees bent, push through those feet. Drive up. Keep that head in line. So notice if you are using your head to find that momentum. Like a lot of people will lead with their head coming up first. So everything stays together. Good. Okay, take a break from that. So the deadlift is the foundation of the swing. Well, I mean the hip hinge really, but that deadlift. So building strength there is super important before you obviously get dynamic and swing and start. It's basically like a kettlebell swing is basically a dynamic deadlift. So you can, I mean, obviously pretty, it's obvious that if you don't have a solid deadlift, your swing is also not going to be solid. That's why I was saying in the beginning that if you feel like this is brand new, then you might want to just keep playing with this one before going to that swing. And the next two drills that we're going to go through in a moment here. So let's just do one more round here, and then we'll move on to the drag. So hinge back, watching that we don't have this excessive arch here or this tucking under. So we want to lengthen out the glutes, pull that low belly in, hug the armpits in to engage those lats. Exhale, drive up through those feet. Right between the arches. So remember, we're not coming out here in front of those feet because then there's all this load into that back. Keep going here. We want that weight to be right underneath us. And actually, let's change this a little bit and let's take the kettlebell even further back behind us. And we'll still deadlift, but because that swing is your kettlebell is going to be out here, so we're loading up this whole area into the hamstrings and the glutes. So by having that kettlebell a little bit further back, we're going to kind of train our bodies to load up with that weight farther back. So the kettlebell's on the floor, but now it's further back, closer to the heels. So same setup, nice and strong, lift, and then just bring it out front. And then reach it back. All driving again through those feet, loading up these lats here. These big back muscles are what is helping to pull it up and keep it stable, pulling down. Good. Okay. Like the competition bells, these colored ones they're all big no matter what the weight is, which is why I mean, they're specifically for kettlebell sport, but they also are nice for deadlifting because they're all, even if you choose a really light one, like this and this are like the same weight, but the size difference is really obvious. So it's just nice to have, I like these guys because again, they're great to learn with. And then you have that height when you're doing something like a deadlift off the floor. Okay, let's go into our drag. So have some room behind you because we're gonna move back a little bit. So start with that kettlebell up front. So typically, a kettlebell swing, first of all, starts with the kettlebell out front, not underneath you. So learning how to get into that hip hinge position properly is also super key. And that's where this drag drill and the dead stop swing drill come in to play. So set up kettlebells about like 1.5 to 2 feet in front of you. We go back into that hinge. And then we put our hands on the kettlebell and tilt it towards you. And then again, squeeze those armpits in, find that lift in the core. We're going to drag it on the floor with our exhale back behind us, and then stand up, step back. So that drag again is coming from the lats, and that's part of that whole pulling down in our swing. So learning how to engage the lats and pull down. So get set up again. Always that start and stop position is super important. So drag it back, literally like on your floor, on your yoga mat or whatever, just to behind you. That's about all I can do. And then I'm going to pick it up and go back to the start. So you can do the same thing. About 2 drags is all I have room for. Okay, so then to start again. So tilt it, check in with your spine, drag it just to kind of behind those heels, step back, find that hinge, and then it's that pull back from here. And then I'm going to come forward again. Let's do that one more time. Hike back. We've got that nice long spine. So do this slow. Break this down every single time. Where are my shoulders? Where's my head? Where's my hips? How's my core? Good. Because what happens again is that we're in too much of a rush and we're like, okay, I'm ready. And then I just see this all the time. And that's how we start our swing. And then it's really hard to recover after that. That's why starting strong and finishing strong, all the middle stuff is going to be much easier. But if you start with a bad position, your whole swing is going to be off. And it's just not training your body well. Okay, so that's the drag. So next bus stop is the dead stop swing. So I do this a lot of times in my classes too. It's a really great drill, and often it's actually harder than a full swing because we take the momentum out of the equation. But it's a really great drill to really learn that start-stop position. So let's play with that after I have a sip of water. And again, if you feel like you should just keep practicing the deadlift or the drag first, you don't have to keep going. You can stop and just go back to any of those other ones. So dead stop swing, we're not going to be moving. We're just going to stay in one place. Set the feet a little wider than hip distance. Kettlebell again is out front. You can hike, hinge back. So find that nice neutral position. Grab your weight and maybe just watch me for 1 second here before we start. So hands on the kettlebell and tighten those lats. So one drill, I didn't say this part yet, but sometimes what I do this with a barbell too, is imagine you're trying to break the handle. So when you do this, it kind of externally rotates and find that stability in the lats and the rotator cuff. So tilt it, find that stability there. And then you're going to hike it back on your inhale and stop. So that's that dead stop. Every time we swing back and then we stop in the same spot and then we reset. So before we start here, we're actually going to be moving now. So it's that super strong pull back. So let's talk about this part for a moment. When you hike back, there should be no space between your arms and your body. So you are tight to the body here. So your hands are going to be back here with that kettlebell. If you're here, there's all this lost energy because what we want to do is push through those hips, which transfer that force into the arms. The arms are moving like a pendulum, there's no shoulder raises here. We're not raising the kettlebell up with our shoulders. We are pushing it, driving through those hips, that hip extension, and it floats up. So that's super important to understand. That is not an upper body exercise. We want to stay stable and strong in the upper body, but we're not lifting it with that upper body, which is also why it's important to find a kettlebell weight once you learn the technique, a kettlebell weight that isn't too light, because it's easy to actually screw up your swing technique with a kettlebell that's too light, because we can just be like, whatever, I can just pick this thing up. Like, I don't need to have strong hips because I can lift it up, but if it's heavy enough where you have to use your hips, that's what it's for. It's a strong, powerful exercise for the hips, for the core. But if it's so light that you don't have to pay attention to the hips, it's easy to cheat. Okay. So so you're going to tilt it. We're going to hike it back so it's nice and high here. And we're going to play with a little drill later with that. That's where the yoga block might come in handy too. And then we drive through those feet. We drive those hips forward, not excessively forward. And that kettlebell will just float up to shoulder height. So here, not up here, or not super low either. Right about here. And then that's where we engage again here and we pull it back down. And we find that, and then we're going to stop here. We find that timing as we pull down, then do this even just without a kettlebell first. And then as we pull down, those hips start to hinge. And then we find that timing where we meet perfectly in that backswing here. And then we go again, or we won't, we'll actually stop. But having that timing as we pull the kettlebell down, the hips start to hinge. And then we're going to control it down here. So we're going to stop. And that's again where we have the control of the lats. Okay, so to review, tilt the kettlebell, find that strong core, neutral spine, inhale, and back. And then we reset. Okay. Are you ready? Let's do it. All right, so nice and strong again. Break that kettlebell handle. Low belly lifts. Inhale, hike it back. Back and stop. So, think about exactly where you started with that kettlebell is exactly where it should land. Your start and stop looks identical. All right. So I'm going to just keep throwing out cues. You can keep playing. Push the feet into the floor, break that handle, hike it back like that football, connect the arms and the body, lock out the legs, and then back. Drive through the feet. Think about that hip extension with the glutes. Pull back down with those lats. Remember up top is that core, that plank position. So we're not here. We're not here. We are nice and strong. We have that, that nice strong lift in and up. So if you can hear my exhale, that's super important as well. So we want that strong. Some people make like an S, like a tss sort of sound. I usually just go kind of through like pursed lips. It's a forceful, strong exhale, which connects to the core. So super important to not be also like, just like using that strong exhale will get that core firing better. We'll find that power through those legs and hips. So keep playing here. If you feel comfortable, you can always take a break whenever you want to. Check in, is that start and stop position identical? And the best way to do this when you're playing on your own is to take a video of yourself. Good. All right. What was I just going to say there? I lost it, but that's okay. So yes, when you're playing with this at home, take a video, because again, we tend to think that we're doing something correctly and our back looks really good, but it's not. So videos are helpful because again, mirrors, like you have to turn your head to look in them, and you want to make sure that everything stays really nice and neutral. Okay, so next comes the full swing. What time are we at? Okay, that's good. So, I mean, Yeah, again, like I would love to break down more of these things step by step. This is a fast progression. This is not how I would ideally do this, but at least it gives you that foundation so that you can keep playing with with each of these skills, because they can be put into a warm up before, which is what I often do in my classes, because we can't obviously workshop this stuff in a class when you have to keep moving. But in a warm up, you start with that hip hinge, then you do a deadlift, and you could do the drag or the dead stop swing, and then the swing. What I want to talk about in that swing is, again, that nice strong connection. So the thing that I was going to have you do at the wall was, so in the back of your swing, and if you don't have a wall around, that's okay. You can still do this without. And I have to face the camera this way, but when you're in the back swing and those arms are, again, tight here, your fingers should be like just reaching for that wall. So think like your butt, again, because one common thing that people do is end up squatting their swing and they're not sending their hips back. So if you happen to be close to a wall, you can just, again, think about that sort of connection where you're reaching the butt back, tapping the wall, and your fingers are back here, maybe reaching or touching the wall as well. So you're maybe like a foot or foot and a half away. And then you're going to inhale, exhale. And just having something behind you, again, gives you that feedback so that you know if you're doing it correctly. Because that common error of squatting a swing instead of hinging, it's a hinge. So if I was to squat my swing like this, my hips would move down. So this is what I see a lot too, but this loads up more into the quads and not as much into the hamstrings and the glutes. So watch that as well. And that's where we're gonna, I'll just show you this. If you can try it if you want to, but I'll just show you this little fun tool to see if you're swinging too low or if you're squatting. With this drill, though, you do have to start standing. You can't start with a kettlebell on the floor. Bless you. So if I was to swing properly, I shouldn't hit my yoga block. But if I was gonna lose that or squat my swing, I'm gonna knock it over. So I just did a full swing there, but just to show you that playing with something obviously that is not breakable, that's a good way to test if you're losing that arm connection and you're swinging too low. You want to swing high into that kind of zipper line. Okay, so let's finish up here with doing a full swing, and then we'll have a little bit of time for questions. All right, so kettlebells out front, hinge back, find that low belly lift, reach the hips back, shoulders back. We want to break that handle, inhale, exhale, explode up, and then we just stay up. So pull down, we're meeting in that backswing, and then we drive through those feet, lock out the legs by squeezing the quads, squeezing the glutes, standing tall. Find that exhale, zipping up. Just to shoulder height, pull back down. Okay, take a break, bring it down, park it. So again, when you stop, you go back and then you park it where you picked it up. That's the end of your swing. So make sure that when you're finished, your last, say this is like number 10, that you're not like just, kind of like rounding and dropping it, flopping down. You want to finish nice and strong. And always make sure that you've got that good, strong back support. Okay, so position yourself first with that kettlebell out front. Hinge back in your hips. checking in, make sure that spine is nice and strong. Tilt the kettlebell, think about breaking the handle, and then hike it back. Inhale, and nice strong exhale. Awesome. Lock out those legs. Power through those feet. Nice work, Sylvie. Looks really good. Good. And if you want to do like the dead stop swing or anything else, awesome. Yeah, Corey, that looks good. Nice work, Mia. Good. Make sure those hips are fully extended up. Take a break whenever you want to. Don't worry about continuing here. Awesome. Good. Whew. Good work. Yeah, nice, Dana. Good dead stop swing. Super good. Drill. Yeah, your spine looks good. I think your kettlebell's a little small as well there, Dana. So again, it's that height issue, because I noticed you had to kind of dip down. That's the other thing that I didn't mention too, is that you never want your shoulders to go lower than your hips. So if you don't mind me demonstrating what I just saw Dana do, is coming down a little bit too low and then reaching. So her back was like fairly straight, but she was a little bit, and I think it's because the kettlebell is too small. So with a small kettlebell, you tend to have to get a little deeper into that squat, or you elevate it onto, again, something that you can start and stop with it, elevated on a yoga block, so that you can keep your shoulders slightly above your hips, or even like in line, but generally above. Because if it's too low and we're starting here, we just lose a lot of stability in and across that upper back area, lats and core. So that's just one thing, again, that's super common with the small ones, because I know when you're learning, and I know that people are worried about the weight of it and all that stuff, so they generally get like, say, a 10-pounder, 10 pounds, and feel free to keep practicing here if I see some of you are swinging. 10 pounds is not heavy enough for a swing, but I know that, you know, you use what you use at home, but just know that a typical good, I mean, I hate giving generalizations because everybody's different, but say for your average female, we should all be shooting for like a 25-pound swing, I think is really an awesome place to kind of aim for. And as you get stronger, that's going to feel like super light. Like, I mean, generally I swing, like when I'm teaching a class, with a 16 kilo, which is about 35, 36 or whatever pounds. But again, like I said at the beginning, if it's too light, you're not going to have that big oomph, that drive that you need from the glutes. And you have that potential to have to drop down too low because of the size of it. So, all right, let's wrap this up with one last little round of swings. We can do this together, but feel free to go back to whatever version you want to do. So get into that nice strong position, break the handle, tilt the kettlebell, pull the belly in, inhale, hike back, exhale. Don't think about the inhale as much. Think about that exhale. The inhale just happens more naturally, but think about that strong exhale. Connect through the core, drive through the feet, block out those legs. And then stopping with control when you're ready, exactly where you picked it up from. Whew. So as you can probably tell, like that heart rate obviously comes up. This is why I love this exercise, because you can keep both feet on the floor. It's not high impact. It's super easy on the joints. It's super powerful, working the whole body, getting a great little cardio workout, and without having to, you know, jump around or do anything that could potentially be aggravating for some people if you've got any kind of joint kind of concerns there. So, all right, that kind of wraps it up. That's 5 minutes left here, which is perfect. So let me know if you have any comments, questions, and I'd be happy to hang out for a bit and chat.
Of course, I have one too.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
I can't remember. Was it 25 or 50 to start with?
For a weight,
Yeah.
25. Yeah, 25 is a great swinging weight. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
50 is a great deadlifting weight, but 20. Yeah, I would say a 25-pound for a good swing weight for most women is perfect.
Okay, cool. And then when I was swinging, all of a sudden my lower back, I could feel it. That's, you're out of line, stop,
Yep.
and recalibrate yourself or whatever.
Yeah. So that's really common. And that's exactly like this is why a lot of people are like, oh, I can't swing a kettlebell. I hurt my back, or it hurts my back, or whatever. And that's because we lose form. So it could be one of two, like I was talking at the beginning, it could be too much arch or it could be too much rounding. So it's either form is off. So it could be like that, or it could be that your form might be okay, but you're losing that core contraction. And then the other thing that it could be is like, this is a posterior chain exercise. So back, glutes, hamstrings. When you're learning this, it's just like any exercise, we need to progressively overload it, meaning we can't just jump in and do this like a whole bunch of swing. Like, to start, maybe your max right now is 10 swings. And then anything beyond that, your back starts to feel like fatigued and sore. Those muscles just haven't adapted yet. So then you would, work on those 10 swings, do maybe 3 to 4 sets of them, build up that strength, and then you can do more as your body gets stronger. Right. So it's either just fatigue, that the muscle is just not strong enough yet, or it's the form. So, feeling it in your back is not like, oh my God, I felt it in my back. It doesn't mean necessarily that something is wrong. There's also muscles back there that need to get stronger. So it could be that. That's where you want to find that tolerance level. What is your tolerance as a beginner? Maybe it's 10, maybe it's 5, and then you would just stop and rest and repeat. And then every week or so, maybe you can do 1 or 2 more, and then you just build up to it. Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
You're welcome. Anybody else have anything to say? Don't be shy.
I like the bolster because that actually really changed how I felt doing the movement.
Oh, good. Okay.
That actually worked quite well. I wouldn't even have thought of elevating just to get that position and posture. So that felt 10 times better.
Awesome.
Like I had better form, way better form. Yeah.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. I'm glad that you like that. That's a really good tool for sure. Whatever did you say you used a bolster?
Yeah. Sorry. No, I still want to order a bolster.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah.
Well, I use the block.
Yeah, okay, perfect. Yeah, but so yeah, that's great. Like block, bolster, whatever you have at home. It can make or break your swing for sure. Because then if you can start in a good strong position, the whole swing, like you said, will just feel so much better.
Sometimes I always felt like I was maybe slightly overstretching before I even actually did the motion. So that actually was good.
Like you have to reach down for it. Yeah. Good. All right. Well, I'll give it another second here. If everybody's good, then I'll just sign off. And thank you for coming and playing with kettlebells on this Saturday morning.